Good morning. Good morning, everyone. How we doing over there in Final Cut TV land? Just going to adjust my microphone. I am talking to you through a Neumann TLM 103, which is just out of sight. Just out of sight. I keep it just out of the view of the camera. And it probably sounds pretty good, right? It's about 6 inches away. Hello from the Netherlands. Good morning from Lincoln, Nebraska. NE is Nebraska, right? Nebraska, Lincoln, Nebraska. That's what I think it is. So I have another delivery today. I think a couple weeks ago I had a delivery that was scheduled on a Saturday during the live stream, and I have another one today. My DJI Osmo Action 5 camera is coming today. There's our friend Sean Beckner. Good morning, everyone. So we're running up close to Christmas season here in the good old U.S., and I guess most people, a lot of people from around the world celebrate Christmas. I know they celebrate it in Australia, but it's summertime there, so I guess they're always used to Christmas being the summertime. Here, most of the United States, it's in the winter. Matter of fact, right now it's only 28 degrees Fahrenheit outside at 10 o'clock in the morning, which is really, really cold. Anything below in the 30s is cold. Now, there's not much wind, so that makes all the difference in the world.
I can't translate it to 30s. It's cold now. There's not much.
I didn't say Siri. I didn't say, hey, Siri, so I don't know why you're answering. You're talking to me. Crazy. Sometimes Siri just listens in and says, "Oh, I think you're talking to me." So one of the things that I've recently, just this last week, started using AI search. So Google is a mess because Google, all these years, it always has the top results are people that are paying for those results. And we know that Google manipulates the results of their search engine and stuff. So I stopped using Google, and now I'm using, what is that thing that I'm using? It's an AI search, and it's actually pretty interesting. Perplexity. I go to Perplexity now. Let's go over there right now. We'll take a peek. And it's AI, and it seems to be pretty good. I mean, so far, interestingly, let me pull it up here. So here is Perplexity, the interface. What do you want to know? And it's very simple. And so I'm having an issue finding the source. Who said originally when Final Cut Pro 10 came out, Final Cut Pro X10 came out, they said there was a 10-year roadmap. Somebody from Apple said the idea of Final Cut Pro 10 is there's a 10-year roadmap for Final Cut Pro. Now, I'm having trouble finding the source of that. When I typed into Perplexity and I asked them, let me show you what they came up with. Let me see. Perplexity. Here we go. Here's what Perplexity initially, Google had nothing. Nobody can go back to the source. This is what Perplexity said. I said, who said Final Cut Pro X had a 10-year roadmap? Answer. This is pretty interesting. Apple initially referred to a 10-year roadmap for Final Cut Pro X, FCPX, when it was launched in 2011. Okay, exactly. That's exactly correct. This statement indicated a long-term vision for the software's development. As noted in discussions surrounding FCPX, this roadmap has been acknowledged in various forums and articles. Absolutely it has. At one point, there was a quote. There was an actual quote on who said that, but I haven't been able to track it down. So it says, acknowledged in various forums and articles, with some commentators reflecting on how far we are into that timeline and what it might mean for the future of the application. The mention of the 10-year roadmap has resurfaced recently, especially as Apple continues to update the software, suggesting that they may be entering a new phase of development beyond the original timeline. The roadmap concept highlights Apple's commitment to evolving FCPX despite some critiques regarding the pace and direction of its updates over the years. This is very, very, very accurate answer. Although they didn't get me who said the quote, this is a very, very accurate answer. But over here, look over here. Let me show you. The very first source is Final Cut TV and Coffee, episode 55. The top source. That's us, of course. I find that curious. But I haven't been able to locate whoever said that initial quote. So, Internet, I'm looking at you to find the quote. It may have been Peter Stenauer from the Final Cut Pro development team, whatever his actual title is. The reason I brought this up, okay, we had a Q&A with the Final Cut Pro team at the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit. I got to ask the question. My question was this. I said, first off, I thanked everybody. I thanked everybody on the panel. I said, thank you very much for giving us Final Cut Pro 11. And I said, thank you very much for that fantastic presentation that you gave us in the theater. First, we got to get some coffee here. So this year, they took us over to the Developer Center, which is right across the street from the main Apple campus. It's virtually across the street. Okay, Sean says Richard Townhill said that. That was one of the two people that I suspected. Sean, can you please find the actual quote in context from Richard Townhill? See, somebody said Townhill. That's what he was one of the people, because at the Creative Summit, when I asked that question, I said, first off, everybody, thank you on the panel for bringing Final Cut Pro 11. We really, really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Second off, thank you for the fantastic presentation that you all gave us. It was above and beyond. It was above and beyond what... It was just a great presentation, a beautiful theater. Then I said, when Final Cut Pro 10 came out, there was mention by Apple of a 10-year roadmap. And I said, does Final Cut Pro 11 have a similar type of a roadmap? 10 years, 11 years, 12 years. Or are we going to see Final Cut Pro 12 in 6 months? That was my question. Of course, they said, well, we can't talk about, they kind of laughed and said, we can't talk about future developments. I realized that I'm talking about just the general roadmap. Do you look at it as a 10-year roadmap? Whatever. But Peter Stenauer said, did I say that? I wasn't sure who said it, so I didn't say anything, but somebody next to me said, yes, you did, yelled out, yes, you did. So it wasn't Peter Stenauer, it was Richard Townhill. Now, if I can find, Sean, since you know that, if I can find the original source of that, an article that has the quote from Richard Townhill saying that, I would appreciate it, because I haven't been able to find it. I have not been able to find it. I have it somewhere on one of my many, many Macs, because I save that kind of stuff. Somewhere I have it. Maybe on the website I have a copy of it with quotes. It says it may be in the documentary Off the Tracks. It says it's different to find the actual quote. Right, so I edited Off the Tracks. I was the co-editor with Brad Olson. Difficult to find, it says. You know, it is difficult. I haven't been able to find it. But I do remember it very specifically. And as the original quote here says, Apple initially referred to a 10-year roadmap for Final Cut Pro X when it was launched in 2011. The statement indicated long-term vision. As noted in discussions surrounding FCPX, this roadmap has been acknowledged in various forms and articles. Yes, it's been acknowledged, but I haven't. So, Richard, we're going to attribute it to Richard Townhill from Apple, not Peter, because he said, did I say that? I didn't say he did. I just said that Apple had said it. So Richard Townhill is who we're going to attribute that quote to. I believe it was on the Super Meet with the introduction of Final Cut Pro 10. I've transcribed that, and I haven't been able to find it. As a matter of fact, let me go. I transcribed that whole original Super Meet looking for it, and I haven't been able to find that specifically. But anyway, we're going to attribute to Richard Townhill. In Off the Tracks, probably, I'll transcribe Off the Tracks and see if it's in there somewhere. So anyway, that's just a little sidecar issue that like I said, when I asked the team, Final Cut Pro had a 10-year roadmap. Does Final Cut Pro 11 have a similar kind of roadmap? That's not specific. That's not promising anything, because Final Cut Pro went 10 went 13 and a half years, not the original 10 like they were talking about. So I'm just curious, the way they look at 11, do they say 11? Because 11, Apple says this, I just brought this up before, Apple themselves said that Final Cut Pro 11 is a new roadmap. Let's just pull this up here. Earlier today. So Final Cut Pro 11, Apple themselves, Final Cut Pro 11, by the way, it's not Roman numeral XI, it's Final Cut Pro 11. Final Cut Pro 11 distinguishes itself. There's only one Final Cut Pro 11, and it's on the Macintosh. The version that is on the iPad is not Final Cut Pro 11. It's Final Cut 2 or 2.1. Final Cut on the iPad was hardly even mentioned at the Creator Summit. It's not the Final Cut Pro for iPad Creator Summit, it's Final Cut Pro Creator Summit. Now, of course, it includes Final Cut on the iPad, but it really wasn't, there was no big update to Final Cut Pro on the iPad this time. It was all about Final Cut Pro 11, and Final Cut Pro 11 only exists on the Macintosh. It doesn't exist anywhere else. Quit. At some point, I'll probably download Final Cut for the iPad, give it a shot. We'll see. I don't need it right now. I got LumaFusion on my iPad. But anyway, this is Apple. Final Cut Pro 11 begins a new chapter for video editing. So Apple themselves are saying this is a new chapter. Final Cut Pro 10 is in the past. Final Cut Pro 11 is present in the future as far as Apple's concerned. So new chapter, New roadmap. Who in the heck knows? Roadmap 10, is it going to be 10? I have no idea. 10 years, 12 years, 13 years, no idea. Very, very cool. So here's last year, we got Final Cut Pro 10.7 at the Creative Summit in November. They previewed it, but it wasn't out until the end of November. At the end of November, we got 10.7, and then we got a bug fix in December before the Final Cut Pro Apps team went on Christmas vacation. That's exactly what I expect to happen again. That is exactly what I expect to happen again. I expect a bug fix, so probably next week. Probably next week, Tuesday or Thursday would be good days. By the way, we're going to have a Final Cut TV Christmas show next week in the afternoon, so pay attention to the YouTube channel, all the usual places that you keep track of what's going on here. We're going to have our annual Christmas show. We have one every year so far. Talk about Final Cut Pro, talk about the year behind, the year ahead, and we'll have a bunch of guests on. That'll be sometime next week. I'll make the announcement later. Beginning of the week, I'll make the announcement when that's going to happen. But anyway, I expect Final Cut Pro 11.0.1, maybe next week. Good possibility, because that's the week before Christmas. Because the following week, I think Christmas is on a Wednesday. A lot of people won't even be coming into work that week, so that's why next week makes it a very likely week. And I don't think they're going to go on vacation before fixing a few of the bug fixes I've seen. They're aggravating some people, so I expect the Final Cut Pro team, by the way, they watch this live stream. So thank you for Final Cut Pro 11, Final Cut Pro team. It's funny, when I do the transcription, anytime I say Final Cut Pro team, the transcription says Final Cut Protein. It always comes back protein instead of pro team. It's every time, almost every time it says Final Cut Protein. No, it's not Final Cut Protein, Final Cut Pro Team. Team with an M. So anything exciting anything exciting going on with anybody? Are they editing anything special? They have that new movie that's coming out. 28 years or something. What is that thing? I'm going to pull that up here. What is that? I'm going to pull it up. Hold on a second. Final Cut TV and radio is where I do most of my posting on Facebook. Final Cut Pro related. And let me see what that movie is. 28 years later. 28 years later. So the reason I bring that up is because this movie, $75 million Sony film, shot entirely on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. It was shot entirely on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. It's like a zombie movie, horror movie. I'm not going to play it because I'll get a strike, but I'm just going to show. They filmed this entirely on an iPhone 15 Pro Max. Now, look at the wide angle. Here it is. Academy Award-winning director Danny Boyle. I guess he did the original one. But this was shot entirely on an $75 million film shot entirely on an iPhone 15 Pro Max. not partially, not B-roll. The only camera that was used for the entire filming was an iPhone 15 Pro Max. Now, when people talk about the iPhone being used for film, they say, oh, yeah, but it's got dollies and it's got lighting. We're not talking about the dollies and the lighting. Of course it has all that stuff. Of course it has superior audio. We're just replacing one element in the chain of video production. That one element, they're swapping out a red camera and they're putting in an iPhone. That's all they're talking about. They're not talking about somebody holding an iPhone in their hand and doing the film that way. That's not what they said. The iPhone has replaced the normal camera that they would use. It's probably a red or something else or whatever. Hello from Denmark. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's cold here. I don't know what it's like in Denmark, but it's very, very cold here. Just look outside. That's the backyard. You can see our Christmas lights are up. So this is the backyard. There's a neighborhood behind us, and people out there put Christmas lights up that we can see. So we put up Christmas lights facing them that they can see. You can't tell from the picture, but it's very, very cold out there. It doesn't look too windy today. It does not look too windy today, which is always good. Which is always good. So I have a few. Let's do those. I have a few. So this is what I use now instead of Perplexity. Perplexity.ai. Is that what it is? Let's go over here. Yeah, Perplexity.ai. I go here now instead of using Google. I'm getting much better results. No ads at this point. And I'm getting really good results over there at Perplexity.ai. But that is Perplexity, 10-year roadmap, what they said about it. Here is a picture of me outside Apple Park. Maybe that's Tim Cook walking across there. I don't know. This was outside. Took a snapshot. So each one of those sections of glass, probably 15, 16 feet high, maybe 12 feet, judging by the distance of, I would say between 12 and 16 feet high. Each panel, each layer of glass is like up to, let's say 16 feet. And there's 4 layers. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, I believe. I think we're seeing 3, and I think there's 1 above that. So this is a picture outside of Apple Park. This year they allowed us to take pictures outside. They said just don't take pictures of their employees. 4 degrees Celsius, which is 39.2 degrees Fahrenheit. You're just about exactly the temperature we are. I'm 10 degrees colder. I'm at 28 degrees Fahrenheit right now. It's very cold, but that's typical for December on the east coast of the USA. It's very typical. So let's go back over here. I got some more. Let's turn that picture off. Now, let me see what we have here. So here's a picture I put up this week, and the caption was, "Guess who?" Guess who that guy is? My friend from Australia, one of our friends from Aussie Friends. That's Chris Hawking, of course. You guys know that. Here's a picture. These are all from the Creative Summit. Picture of me and Steve Martin in the lobby of the Juniper Hotel. All the times that I've talked to Steve and we've met and we've never got a picture together. So I wanted to make sure that we got a picture this time around. So that's myself and Steve Martin. And then we have one more, my friend Bradley Olson. Now, Bradley's pointing to something, and he's pointing to, he bought 3 dozen donuts, and they were some of the best donuts I've ever had in my life. I just came downstairs from upstairs. I had a couple cups of coffee, and he said, Richard, you got to try these donuts. So congratulations to Brad he got the Best Darn Donuts Award at the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit. They were fantastic, and they were fresh. I just got a glazed donut. It was fresh. It was still warm. They were absolutely superb. Absolutely superb. So little accolades to Brad for giving us, he bought like 3 dozen. 3 dozen donuts, or maybe it was more, but it was like, I think 3 boxes of them, all different kinds. I had one, and it was fantastic. So that was our little donut gathering at the Creative Summit. So does anybody expect, I'm going to check my phone, make sure I'm not getting, well, actually I'll check over here to make sure there's been no delivery yet. Now we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and X, the platform X. I got a lot of viewers over there on X, and I've been posting on X for 10 years, 12 years, something like that. So we are live. Let me just see. Yes, we're live over there on X too. How many people are watching over on X right now? Yep, we got a dozen or more. Of course, I never can tell about Facebook, but that's just the way it is. So anyway, I'm expecting 11.0.1 to be coming out next week, sorry. Probably. We don't know for sure, but probably, because there's bugs have been reported. I've reported bugs, a bug or two. Other people I've seen consistent reporting of bugs. Exporting the new magnetic mask has been problematic. I think especially, or maybe only, when you use compressor. You get an error that says it's not going to export the data or something. Who the heck knows? But there's other bugs as well. There are other bugs as well. So anyway, if I have confirmation of Richard Townhill, which makes sense, that's what I think Brad said. It was probably Richard Townhill that said that. So if I can get a article or a quote from Apple that says that with his quotes, I'll send it over to let them know that it was not Peter Stenauer that said it. Richard Townhill said it. But I was just curious what they thought about Final Cut Pro 11 as far as the roadmap goes. And they didn't really give an answer. They said, well, we don't talk about, well, I realize that. I didn't ask you specifics. This is just a roadmap. Is it 6 months? Or are you going to see Final Cut Pro 12 in 6 months? Well, I doubt it, but I'm just trying to get an idea of the way they looked at it. Because last year, they said, we have plans for Final Cut Pro for the next 5 or 6 years. A year ago, that's what they said. So I would just kind of say, okay, well, now that 11's been announced, what do you think? Do you think it's coming out? I mean, do you think it's a 10-year roadmap again, or 5 years, 6 years, 12 years? Nobody's holding you to it. I mean, this Final Cut Pro 10 was 13.5 just in. All right. So my main source of heat is I burn oak firewood, 100% oak firewood. And I have always have enough wood. I have like 4 cords, 5 cords. I burned about 2 cords every winter, depends on how cold it is. Sometimes, like right now, if it's in the 20s, the fireplace wood-burning stove runs 24/7 because that's our main source of heat. I have 100% backup electric heat, but as you can imagine, that's expensive. So the wood-burning stove works really well because it even works if the power goes out. So if the power goes out in the middle of the wintertime, I still have a source of heat. And I can still cook. And I can still make coffee. So it's good to have. Anything else going on in the world of Final Cut Pro while we're here chatting worldwide chat? I don't expect, listen, I would be pleasantly surprised if there is a feature in 11.0.1. I'd be very pleasantly surprised, but I have a feeling it's probably just going to be bug fixes. And then after that, at any point, they can come out with Final Cut Pro 11.0.2 with whatever they want to call it, bug fixes or features or whatever. No idea. Let's go over here. So this is, let me pull this up. Where's my, Well, that's interesting. I got to pull this up. Hold on a second. Pull me up. This is down in our main street here. Let me pull this, change this circle. So this is our down in Main Street where I live in Carroll County. This is a setup. I went down, they have a celebration of Christmas and they have these trains, incredible trains.
There's one train over it. Keep walking. Keep going, bud.
So the interesting thing about this train setup, a lot of people have trains for Christmas. This is in an actual train car. This train setup is in an actual real live train car. They set up model trains inside of a train car.
Yep, keep going.
Let's see what else we have. There we go. And this goes outside, and I don't know if I have a picture of the train car. There's a train car there that was Santa Claus was inside for the kids. So the kids stood in line and they went into that train car. But the train car behind it is where the train setup is. Kind of getting over a cold. I've had a cold cough for a few days. So Eric says March, April for 11.1 around or before NAB. No, it won't be 11.1, Eric, because that's a full number. That's a full number update. So it'll be 11.0.2. 11.0.2, because we just started 11.0, so they're not going to update to 11.1 that soon. 3 months later, they've never done that before. Usually it's 1 year. Like last year, it was 10.7, and then this year it jumped. 6 months later, it jumped to 10.8. but we're at 11.0. So I don't expect 11.1 until maybe next year for the Creative Summit. I think it'll be 11.0.2. We're just at 11. We haven't jumped to 11.1 yet. 11.1 will be a much bigger update, probably. Maybe at the summit next year, a year between. That's what I would say. So 11.0.2 sometime in 2025 with new features, and that very well could be NAB, around NAB. But there's no guarantee. Sometimes they pay attention to NAB, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they pay attention to NAB, sometimes they do not. Let's go over here, back to the movies. And that's that one. What else do we have? Well, so this is us leaving. So behind us is the Developer Center. So then we left the Developer Center from the great presentation. We got introduced to 11.0.
So here we are outside of Apple Park. Final Cut Pro 11 was indeed announced, as we suspected, since Logic Pro jumped from 10.8 to 11. We have now got Final Cut Pro 11. It's much more sophisticated than what the initial preview was over with the Mac Mini commercial. Final Cut Pro 11, I'm outside the Apple Park. We're going to the Apple Park right now. Very special presentation from the Final Cut Pro team. Logic Pro is updated to 11.1. And Final Cut Pro 11 is released today. Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Keyboard playing the winner, right? Yeah.
So right there is Apple Park, right across the street. Right across the street. And that's where the Developer Center is. Very, very good. So Eric says 11.0.1. I think we're going to have 11.0.1 probably next week, and that'll be a bug fix. And then 11.0.2, probably some features and stuff. I mean, NAB is always a good target. NAB is always a good target. It always, because if it works out right for the development schedule, they'll have a release of a feature update to Final Cut Pro. They've done it sporadically throughout the years, but they have released Final Cut Pro feature updates just prior, or actually sometimes during NAB. So that's interesting. Now, NAB this year, there was no Final Cut Pro activity in NAB last year. Zero. There was not any event that was featuring Final Cut Pro last year, with the difference being the years before, we always had Final Cut Pro events, either at the Super Meet or Faster Together stage or whatever else they had. There was always Final Cut Pro activity specific somewhere at NAB. Last year was nothing. I couldn't find anything specific Final Cut Pro related. This year, no idea. I have no idea what's going on. It's a little too early to tell. Usually, if there's going to be some activity, as a matter of fact, let me just check this. Let me see what this says. You know what? I don't know what's going on with Super Meet. Dan, they haven't had one for 2 years at NAB. And if you go to supermeet.com, it's still referencing Super Meet 2024. They said they had to cancel 2023, and they said now work towards 2024 on Monday, April 15th, 2024. Well, that never happened. That never happened. They didn't have one last year, 2024. I don't know. Is there going to be one this year? They've missed 2 years in a row. I wouldn't hold, I wouldn't wait for 2024. $2025, considering the fact that they didn't have one in 2023 or 2024, even though they said they were going to have one. So who the heck knows? But anyway, I don't know if there's going to be anything at NAB this year. I went to NAB last year. We'll have to see how this year goes. I don't know. At this point, I don't know. If there's no Final Cut Pro announced activity at NAB, I have to see if I go or not. I really don't. NAB is not that exciting to me unless there's Final Cut Pro activity. I can stay home and watch all the announcements at home. Now, last year I did get to meet Grant Petty, and I did get to interview him for 5 minutes. So that's an exciting thing because I'm a big fan of Blackmagic and Grant Petty and what he's doing with Blackmagic Design. So that's always cool. And I did get to interview LumaFusion and some of the other people that sponsor my trip to NAB. We'll have to see how that goes this year. I haven't made any definite commitments yet. I'm kind of planning on going, but we'll have to see later in the spring. As Sequoia 16.2 released with more AI features, maybe Final Cut Pro can take more advantages from these AI modules on future updates. Absolutely. Oh, I think we're expecting more AI. They've already done the transcription, AI transcription, transcribe to captions. So it transcribes your audio to captions. Now, captions are very limiting. They're not meant to be titles or subtitles. They're very limiting. So you don't have a lot of control over position, over the fonts. There's very limited control over that stuff. So that's a first step. That's a first step, but I really don't see. I'd like to see Final Cut have transcribe to subtitles or transcribe to titles, or do transcribe to caption, and then the way that Intelligent Assistance has their plugin, dynamic titles, where they take that caption file and make titles, and you can do anything you want with them. By the way, that's still on sale until the end of the year for 25% off in the App Store from Intelligent Assistance, our friends Philip and Greg over there. All right, so this is time of the year. There's not usually much Final Cut Pro news other than 11. I expect 11.0.1 to be released. That would be something that I would expect next week, the week before Christmas, because I think everybody's going away. A lot of people are going away the following week. So we'll have to see. If it comes out next week, we'll do a live stream to talk about it, although I just expect it to be bug fixes. I don't expect much else. I don't expect much else to be happening with Final Cut Pro 11.0.1. What else is going on? Anything? Let's go up here. So one of the other things we did was we went to, this is the expo night in the Juniper Hotel lobby. There's Trevor Horton, Michael Horton's son. There's Jen talking to one of our friends, Jen Jager.
gets choppy, and
This is the strategy. I think his perspective is important.
yes, oh yeah,
And I think he's right about Final Cut Pro, that it actually does satisfy the need for all of us to improve our skills and be more efficient and not be tied down to old ways of production.
right. There's a lot of NLEs that are really good, and Final Cut's one of them.
Right.
It's the one we prefer.
Yes.
Because of the fluidity and the speed of editing. It has some features that we'd like to see.
That's Michael and Ian Roper. They've come to quite a few creative summits, and I've always enjoyed seeing both of them. Michael was there last year. Very, very cool. All right. I think I'm going to, we're going to cut it short today. And there's going to be a Final Cut TV and Christmas show middle of next week. Siri thought I was talking to it. Final Cut TV and Coffee Christmas show. Now I'm going to be doing some comparison videos. I have two iPhones. I have an iPhone 15 Pro Max and an iPhone 16 Pro Max, both of them 1 terabyte top spec iPhones. I wanted both of them because sometimes when I'm filming, I need another camera to grab for whatever reason. And then I have the DJI Action 5 camera coming today. And I think I'm going to do a comparison of the iPhone 16 Pro Max and the DJI Action 5, just a general comparison video between those two. Maybe this week I might do that. Daniel says, my workflow used the following: Final Cut Pro, Logic Pro, Compressor, Roxio, Toast Pro, DaVinci Resolve Studio. So I will watch 2025 with great expectations with new AI options. I agree with that. There is Sora AI video generator. I gave it a try with 4:3 animation, but couldn't get it to generate into 16:9. That's interesting. Yeah, so the AI thing is certainly interesting. It's another tool that we have. I mean, I remember I had an analog recording studio in the 80s. I started recording in the 70s, my band, on a reel-to-reel tape, and I ran a reel-to-reel recording studio all through the 80s into the 90s. And I remember the debate, digital, analog, and we're kind of like on the precipice of that again with AI. Some people like AI, some people don't like AI. Well, do I need AI to do what I do? No, I don't need it. Do I want it to do editing for me? No, I don't. I like editing myself. That's like saying, instead of doing a painting with the paintbrush and watercolors or oil, I want AI to do it. No, I don't. It's like picking up my guitar and writing a song and saying, do I want AI to do it? No, I don't want AI to write a song for me, because then I didn't write it myself. I like to do things organically, and that includes editing video. I enjoy editing video. Now, there's plenty of things that AI can do Transcribe to captions? Absolutely. Go through and catalog all my files and give me a description or whatever? Absolutely. But the editing part, besides maybe doing a rough cut, no, I want to do that myself because that's what I enjoy. Eric says, paint by numbers. Yeah, I mean, if AI does your editing for you, then you're not doing any editing. AI is doing it. Now, that's fine if you're going on TikTok or something and you want AI to edit your video for you for TikTok, but that's not what I prefer. But I certainly can see the use of AI. Just the fact that I stopped using Google for the most part. Now I'm using Perplexity.ai for my searches, and it came up with things that Google didn't come up with. I really like it. Perplexity.ai. I'm sure there's going to be more of that coming out. After the recent update, iMovie for iPhone will not open unless you grant full access to photos and music. This is highly inappropriate and not a good sign where Apple is headed. I think most of the things that most of the camera apps and stuff that I have, they want access to my photos, which I grant, but you're not getting access to my contacts. No, you're not getting access to my contacts. There's absolutely no reason why a photo app or a video editing app needs access to my contacts. If that's what you desire and need, you won't get it from me. I will not give you access. I will not give you access to my contact list. Photos, yeah, because I store photos there sometimes. So that makes sense. All righty. Anything else going on in the world of Final Cut? This is a period between now and Christmas. There's not usually much besides a bug fix. There's not usually much Final Cut Pro news. January, typically, there's not much Final Cut Pro news. You can allow limited access to photos and music or full access. I understand. I don't care about an app that I trust having access to. I mean, there's nothing in my photos, but I don't want them meddling around in my contact list, and I don't want them meddling around. I don't want to give them full access to my entire hard drive. Absolutely not. Photos, that's understandable if you're a Photos app, right? It is to me. All right. So anyway, during the week, we're going to have a Final Cut TV Christmas party get together with some special guests. We'll have like 3, 4, 5 guests on. We'll all chat about Final Cut Pro. We'll talk about the year that just passed, talk about what we think maybe is going to happen in the future. And of course, AI is a big part of that. Am I resistant to AI? No, I'm not resistant at all. I'm looking forward to what it can do, but I want to determine what I allow it to do. I want to determine that. I don't want AI deciding. I don't want an app deciding. I want to decide how many things I let AI do for me. So, when I want to look up a recipe to cook a meal, sure. Like I said, I went on perplexity.ai to find out where that quote came from. They didn't give me the quote, but they did say that it was accurate, that quote was around and people have been talking about it. And our friend Sean said Richard Townhill said that quote. I still haven't found the actual quote, but now I'm going to go back and look some more. Maybe AI to help color correct? Yes, absolutely, and stuff like this, but not editing at my place. Creation must stay human if possible. Yeah, well, it's like music nowadays. When I grew up in the 60s, we had the Beatles, and we had the Stones, and we had the Who, and we had the Doors, and we had Janis Joplin and Jimi Hendrix, and we had Cream. All these it was a Renaissance period where these great musicians, inspirational, wrote fantastic music. Nowadays, I don't even listen to popular music anymore. It just doesn't, it sounds like rehashing. It's like they took a computer program and said, write a song for me that sounds like the Beatles, or write a song for me that sounds like Jimi Hendrix. I don't care. That doesn't interest me. If you can't sit down and write a song with a piano or a guitar by yourself, just you and the guitar, you and the piano, without computers, your music doesn't interest me. It's just computer generated. It doesn't interest me. If you write a song organically with just you and the acoustic guitar or you and the piano, then we're talking. Now, the computer can do things like help arrangements or something like that, but the basic formation of the song should come organically. At least that's my opinion. That's what I like. Same with editing. I want to see what you can edit, what kind of a movie you can put together, what kind of a documentary, what kind of, even if it's a short, YouTube short, I want to see what you can do. Like I said, I'm looking forward to AI can do for some things. Color correction is fine. I have no problem doing that. Fixing audio is fine. That's absolutely. All righty. We've been on. I'm gonna get off here and go wait for my Action 5, my DJ Action 5, and I'll be playing with that for a while. And go from there. Like I said, I'm probably going to do a video this week of comparing the iPhone 16 Pro Max with the DJI Action 5 once I get it up and running. A feature like the magnetic mask can really help you save badly lit recordings. You can do color correction on a magnetic mask. I love the magnetic mask in Final Cut Pro 11. I've never done rotoscoping. I didn't have the time. It's too tedious for me. I love the magnetic mask. That is such a big, huge feature. AI, absolutely. That's a perfect example where AI can benefit without editing. What kills music creation is samplers who created music tracks from only loops. Well, that's one aspect. I agree. That is one aspect, but that doesn't bother me if it's identified as samples and loops and stuff. That's kind of like one area of music that's identified as such. I'm talking about somebody who says, I wrote this song, and I think, that sounds like Hey Jude from the Beatles. So, no, that doesn't interest me. If you're using computers to do the creative process of writing a song, doesn't interest me. It sounds like it. It sounds like a computer. I really like David Gilmour's new album. David Gilmour. That's interesting. I like organic stuff. I like organic stuff. To sit down and just write. You and the guitar, you and the piano, just vocally. I really like that. By the way, so that new feature on the iPhone where you can do voice is pretty cool. I really like it. It transcribes live as you're talking into your phone, which is really, really cool. The iPhone 16 Pro Max. All right, everyone, I'm going to get out of here. If I don't see you between now and Christmas, Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy holidays from around the world. We will be having a Christmas episode with special guests the middle of next week, sometime next week. So pay attention to the YouTube channel. I also love the magnetic mask, but I find that most tutorials seem to miss a step or don't really cover various potential uses such as ENG. So yeah, you have to do the plus or minus and stuff if you have to hone it. But I mean, for short segments, it's been very, very successful for me. And I never did any rotoscoping whatsoever. Maybe old rock bands, they acted because that real music. Well, listen. So the Beatles broke up in 1969. They never did anything as the Beatles from 1969. The Rolling Stones are still together. The Rolling Stones never broke up. They never broke up. Now, I think the Rolling Stones' best music was perhaps through the 70s. Exile on Main Street in 72 was an excellent album. It's Only Rock and Roll was a great album with Mick Taylor on guitar. All their 60s stuff with Brian Jones was phenomenal. And 75, I think it was Black and Blue, and then 78 was Some Girls. Up through the 70s, the music was phenomenal. Now, in the 80s, they had Steel Wheels and some other things, but the Rolling Stones never broke up. They're still together to this day. Mick Jagger's in his 80s. And of course, their classic stuff in the 60s was some of their best stuff. But they never gave up. They never broke up. And they still write songs and stuff and do studio recordings. An incredible life history. Thanks for an excellent year of Final Cut Pro Chat. Let's hope we get text-based editing in 2025. Absolutely. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody out there. We have some more shows. We'll be back next Saturday, but during the week, during the week, we're going to have a Christmas show, so pay attention for the afternoons during the week. And we're going to have some special guests. Some of our Final Cut Pro friends are going to come on, and we're going to just chat and have a good time, talk about Final Cut Pro. And you're right, it's been 1 year. We've had these chats on Saturdays. We're going to continue them. There's no plans on changing that. We'll have one planning on next Saturday, but during the week, we're going to have an extra one with some special guests. So if you want to know, I'm most active on Facebook, Final Cut TV and Radio. That's the Facebook page that I'm most active on. We also got Final Cut Pro tips and tricks, and we got a bunch of other Final Cut Pro Facebook groups. And then, of course, on X, I have the Final Cut Pro, what do they call that? Something. Happy Christmas, Richard. Absolutely. Thank you for saying that. We want to give everybody, Final Cut Pro team, and all the listeners out there, thank you for tuning in. It makes the world of difference. I'm going to get out of here for today and go look for my Action 5 camera. And I'll be back doing some more videos, tutorials, and stuff. I'm going to do a comparison, like I said, of the iPhone 16 Pro Max and the Action 5, just a generic comparing the image quality and stuff. So here's some things about the Action 5 Pro, the DJI Action 5 Pro. It does a bunch of things that no other action camera does. Number one, I can connect to 2 DJI wireless microphones via Bluetooth. No other action cam, they can do 1, but they can't do 2. On top of that, I have the ability to also record the microphone from the DJI Action Cam itself. So I can do 2 wireless microphones, one on me, one on the talent. Plus, I have the option to record from the microphones of the DJI Action 5. It also has 0.3 seconds instant recording. So when I hit that red button to start recording, it starts recording in 0.3 seconds, less than half a second it starts recording. None of the other action cameras do that. They all take 1 to 2 seconds or whatever to start the recording process. Less than half a second, 0.3 second to start recording. That's something else the rest of them don't have. And there's a couple of more things that the DJI Action Camera, it looks pretty good in low light. It's an action camera. I don't expect it to be that great, but I'm looking forward to it. Final Cut Pro bugs fix would be our Christmas gift from Apple. Maybe a feature. A feature would be phenomenal. They'd slip a feature in there with that bug fix. That would be phenomenal. But I do expect 11.0.1. I'm going to say next week. It's very likely that's what they did last year. They gave us 10.7 and it gave us 10.7.1 right before Christmas. Right before Christmas. All right, everyone. I'm going to get out of here, wait for my delivery, and pay attention during the week next week. We're going to have a Christmas show. Special guests will be on. We'll be on with a bunch of people, plus all of you as well. We want you to all chime in like you always do. But until then, I'm going to get out of here. Talk to everybody later. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. But I'll see you between now and then. Talk to you all later.